at bbc.co.uk.
Let's speak to somebody who knows the Royals well. He's regularly appeared on the programme. Delighted to welcome back Grant Harrold. Grant, good morning to you.
Good morning, John.
Nice to talk to you again. Former butler to His Royal Highness Prince Charles. When you read an article like this, Grant, and Harry's done this a few times now, he's obviously striking out and trying to create a conversation, a debate about what the royal family is and what the royal family is for. Do you recognise the royal family that he's talking about?
I do. See, the thing is, it is the 21st century and times are changing, and obviously it's important that the royal family, like everybody else, kind of adapts and goes with those changes. But like you say, I mean, seeing the kind of headlines and reading about it, I do, because it's the younger royals that I was lucky enough to kind of spend a lot of time with and get to know them. And they are, they're very much modern young royals. Now, I think with what he's saying about the fact that it's not just it's not the case of you're kind of it's the duty, it's something that they have to do. It's not something you wish to do. Well, that I think a lot of us have always kind of realised that with the royal family, it's not something that you would want to do, and it's the case of you're born into that position. And that the Queen said in her 21st birthday, quite famously, said that for the rest of her life, she would devote her life to the service of her people, which is exactly what she's done.
And as evidenced only yesterday, that a 91-year-old woman whose husband has just been taken into hospital with an infection is probably not going to be going to work, but she did.
And she carried on doing all the normal things. She still did the ascot. She obviously did the toned down stay open the Parliament. So it was very much the job obviously has to kind of, for them, it has to come fast. And I say it has to, but it's a job that's kind of been developed over many centuries. They feel that there's a duty. And I remember, like we all say at some time in our lives, we'll probably turn around and say, oh, wouldn't it be wonderful to be a royal? Wouldn't it be a great lifestyle?
Well, boys and girls play kings and queens, don't they?
They do. Yeah. They do. And it is, don't get me wrong, of course, we all know it can be an amazing lifestyle, but as well, look, for all of us, we can all have wonderful lifestyles, but the reality is it's not always as glamorous as it looks. And they do some amazing things. I mean, I've been lucky enough, I remember doing a medal presentation with the Duchess of Commonwealth, the Prince of Wales, were doing presenting the medals, and I was with them. And I remember thinking it was so difficult because these people just come back from, these boys and girls have come back from Afghanistan. Some of them obviously come back with terrible injuries, and it was very emotional, and yet they went round and presented all the medals, and it meant so much to these people that they were doing this. And that's when I thought, it is something special to have them actually go around and do that. But the other hand is that they do have a private life. They should be able to go into the local shops if they want to and do that kind of thing. But again, it's 21st century, we've got all this wonderful mobile technology, and there are going to be pictures taken. And I think this is what Prince Harry's trying to say, is that yes, there is obviously the kind of royal duty, but it's not something that they ask for, because at the same time, you kind of lose their private life to an extent, which is a horrible thing.
And of course, that gets played out as it has been played out. The Martin Bashir interview in Panorama, which of course was catalytic in changing the fortunes of the royal family. Then, of course, 20 years ago, the death of Diana, Princess of Wales. And what Harry is saying here this morning, and I know you've worked for Prince Charles, and we've spoken a number of times, Grant, and I don't want you to betray a confidence, and I wouldn't even put you in that situation. But the implication is that nobody wants to be king and queen. That's what he's saying in this news article. And you've worked for the man who is going to be king.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think I'm safe to kind of say that the fact that they're doing this kind of work, they wouldn't really be doing it, I think, if they really let's look at Edward VIII as an example. He obviously decided that love was more important than the job, which we can all understand. I'm sure some of us have been in similar situations.
Yes.
And so obviously he gave up the job. So I think what I'm trying to say is, if they didn't really want to do the job, there is, realistically, there's alternatives. There's other things that they could turn around. Again, it's the modern era. It's the 21st century. I think, obviously, for Prince Harry, he has obviously said in a few occasions that, I think he's quite grateful that his brothers had the family, so that he's obviously moving further and further away from it, because maybe it is something deep down that what he's saying is not something that he would want to take on, because it's not a little thing, it isn't a little thing to take on, it's a huge thing. And now I can assure you, even though I was a child and I used to say, oh, I'd love one day to to be a royal or that kind of thing. I assure you, after seeing what the itinerary and how grueling it can be, and the heartache, and what they have to do, and they're wonderful ambassadors. The way they kind of the things they do for the country, and it takes a lot to do that.
And finally, Grant, before I let you go, and we'll get you in properly in August sometime. We'll look forward to that. Look forward to that. Yeah. But I mean, you know the royal princes. You know William. You know Harry. And it's interesting. You look at William. You look at Harry. You look at Margaret, and you look at Elizabeth. You have these very different siblings. Harry, like Margaret, the good time prince or princess, and the dutiful heir, as it were. Is Harry perhaps articulating things that William can't?
I honestly don't know. I really don't know, but I understand what you're saying, because again, I think when you're of the siblings, you're the younger one, and you assume that one day the responsibility will not be yours. You probably feel a bit more that you can say things that the other can't. That's quite possible. It's the same with you look at big organisations. Normally the big bosses don't say it. It's the ones maybe the next one down it might say something that needs to be said. So that might be the way they do it. I don't think so, but I'm not 100% sure. But as you said, they are two independent young men. They are still young men, two independent young men, and they're very passionate about what they do. And I think the other thing I always can remind people is that yes, things are said in interviews, but we've always got to remember there can always be two meanings to what they're saying. So it might not be him saying it's not something he would want to do. It could just be the general thing where he's saying it's not something that you'd wish on somebody else.
Code as always. Grant, always a pleasure talking with you. Look forward to seeing you in August. Thank you very much there. Thank you. Grant Harrold there, former Royal Butler to Prince Charles. Steve is...